just now in this particular chapter. Sri Krishna ended the 11th chapter, that is the previous chapter, with the message that Ishvara is in everything and everything is in Ishvara. But since our senses see the world and not Ishvara, we need a way to constantly be aware of Ishvara's presence. That is our main, this one, all the time. Otherwise, what happens, as Thirumular said, Param. Param means the Ishvara, you can say, or Brahman. Parathai maraitadu par mudal bhutam. The Panchabhudangal, starting with par means earth. So, when we see that, it covers maraitadu par mudal bhutam. But when we sit in meditation and then see, experience the Param, that is the ultimate. So, Parathai maraitadu par mudal bhutam, Parathil maraindadu par mudal bhutam. So, when we sit and especially we are in Samadhi, the entire universe, the completely, it only we see only Atma. So, so when we see the world, we are not able to experience Ishvara. So we need a way to constantly be aware of Ishvara's presence. That is our attempt. Till we get a state where this happens effortlessly, that is all the time experience a presence of Ishvara, Sri Krishna asks us to take up the path of bhakti or devotion, where we constantly abide in the ultimate truth that Ishvara is everything and everything is in Ishvara. So when we see the universe or the that it is Vishwarupam, as we saw in the 11th chapter. So when we see that, we must also simultaneously be aware of the presence of the ultimate truth. Ishvara is everything and everything is in Ishvara. So the seed of Bhakti Yoga, it was planted at the end of the previous chapter, which is chapter 11, and is further expounded in this chapter, which is 12th chapter. So how it starts? Arjuna began this chapter by asking the question of, there are two types of devotees. The devotees who worship Ishvara with form, Saguna Ishvara, and then there are people who worship him without form. Who is superior? This is a question Arjuna asked in the beginning of the 12th chapter. Sri Krishna replied that the worshipper of Ishvara without form, that is when there is no form at all, he sees no difference between him and Ishvara. Otherwise, when we see world, we see ourselves separately and world separately. And obviously, God also separately. That is our basic, this one. No? We are like that, all the people. When we see, we always consider all the three are different. So there is, but for people who can dwell and do dhyanam on formless Ishvara, Brahman, so there is no difference between him and Ishvara because that alone exists. But for most of us, because still we have that, that sattvic ahankara. That means we have learned something with that ahankara. The sense of distance or separation between us and Ishvara, it is difficult to worship the formless Ishvara. It is quite difficult. So because we see all the time the picture of the world or whatever we see, we perceive. So that comes in between. So how to start and then how to go ahead so that we feel that and everything is Ishvara. So Krishna recommends worship of Ishvara with form first for the majority of devotees. That's what he asked, no, Arjuna asked. So start with that. Next, Sri Krishna gives, that means for ordinary people, a sequence of steps. I think it starts from 3rd verse till 12th. It describes the 5 levels of Bhakti Yoga to get to Ishvara. We are instructed to begin with Karma Yoga. Here, Karma Yoga means Karma Lakshana Bhakti. See, Bhakti here means, that sincerity, the devotion is Bhakti, whether it is Jnana Yoga or Karma Yoga, whatever it is, our interest, Shraddha, that is actually real Bhakti. So all the yoga or the margams, the ways, everything involves Bhakti. That's why this 12th chapter explains so nicely. So what we do when we say karma lakshana bhakti, we renounce the fruits of action by submitting them to Ishvara. Once we have reduced our selfish desires and our ego to a large extent, we are asked to take up the yoga where we repeatedly meditate upon Ishvara with form. It can be Ishtadevata or any other Ishvara with form. Then slowly we reach a stage where we remain in constant awareness and knowledge of our oneness with Ishvara, which is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Lakshana, that is also Bhakti, the yoga of knowledge. All the above, whatever we talked, different levels of Bhakti Yoga, these are all. Here, see, Bhakti, we have to be very clear. Here, Bhakti means positive attitude towards God. Positive attitude, because we understood what is God. Then, after discussing the Bhakti Yoga in the above, up to 13th verse, 12th verse, then the chapter ends with a list of about 36 qualities of a perfected devotee. They are this list, whatever we have seen from 13 to 19, they are meant to inspire us. What they talk about Bhakti Yoga Phalam. Earlier, 3rd verse to 12th chapter, it was about Bhakti Yoga. Here, what happened? That is Bhakti Yoga Phalam was discussed in the later, that is 13th to 19th. See, it is when you see the list, especially with 35, 36 traits, we immediately feel, oh, it may not be possible for us and all. No. Here, even if we cannot gain all the qualities, we should aim for acquiring at least one. Because gaining even one quality, it really opens the door to the acquiring the rest. And actually, we can say, even in sadhana chatushtaya, even though there are so many, if we make use of Viveka or Vairagya, you start, all others automatically follow. So that sincerity makes us really one by one, because once you start here, other traits will automatically, it will enter us, and we will be able to understand and follow that. So whichever is easy, let us start. And especially the last 30, 35, it's not very difficult. All these qualities, that is what is talked about equanimity. Right from second chapter, it is that is the main this one. And unselfishness. Uh, Next one is free from attachment. So these are, and um, faith, unwavering faith towards Ishvara. These are the things talks about and listed. And repeatedly, these points are emphasized in different ways. So the to see slowly we see immediately we cannot get into one particular quality and try to follow. We will start with some this thing. We may here and there in a particular day, if there without attention, we may make mistakes, but it doesn't matter. Slowly we will be able to make it almost permanent. Once we are used to it, it will be made permanent, and other traits will slowly definitely follow. There is no doubt. It depends on our sincerity and interest. So none of these things are something which we say it's not possible for ordinary people. It is possible, especially that's why all this chanting, right from Vishnu Sahasranama, Lalita Sahasranama, it is not getting something. The chant itself, it makes us more and more sattvic. That is very important. There is no other way, because we are always with one or two or even three of these main gunas, especially the tamo guna and rajo guna. That combination will not even make us think that we must acquire one of these and become more sattvika. So this indirect help is from chanting of whether it is Bhagavad Gita or Vishnu Sahasranama, Lalita Sahasranama, whatever it is. That itself, it shows our sincerity. Regularly chanting itself will bring us up to some sattvika level. So then, sincerely, we will be able to follow. So it all happens uh, rather automatically or indirectly. But that sincerity, that's why it's called Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti means that much sincerity towards Ishvara, or that clarity of understanding. It automatically makes us have more bhakti, that is sincerity. That's why the Shraddha and Bhakti are very important when we are practicing spiritual things, whatever it is, practicing. So this is so nicely explained. First few verses, 3rd to 12, it talks about karma yoga. What is it? It starts from the that is what we can generally follow. Simplest one till slowly it takes up to that 5th level, which is jnana yoga. So that is talked about from verse 3 to 12, and then the effect of it, that is the phalam, is explained in the remaining, that is verses 13 to 19. So nicely put. So when we say these people with these qualities are close to me, dear to me means what? Now there is a gap because of our ignorance. We have all sorts of likes and dislikes and all these things that makes us rather keeps us away from the real truth. And so when one of these qualities, when we are able to acquire, that distance becomes less. That's why he always ends with, he is dear to me. So dear means what is close to me. So this, we ourselves can feel what was, what that is when we started about several years back. where we were, and now there is a clear feeling, understanding that we are not different, so much different from the Ishvara or Brahman or Atman. So it is all the time, it is there. That feeling, when we practice it, every time we may not remember that. As earlier also we have discussed, we don't go on telling that I am a man or I am a lady. It's there automatically. Similarly, that presence of or the awareness of the Brahman or Atma or the pure consciousness is all the time there. When we say Sthita Prajna in second chapter, it remains automatically. There is no effort after doing the sadhana. That's what the 12th chapter very clearly explains. And it's a very rather, you can say Vedasara as well as Vedanta Sara. So everything is there in the 12th chapter. One of the, or I would say even very important chapter. So this, now we have finished, and when we move to last 6, then the many practical aspects will be covered. Hari Om. So if there is anything to discuss, anyway, there is only 5 minutes, we can see.